Hello folks, I'm just preparing the elderberries. People seem to think that it's quite difficult. It's very easy with a fork. In some ways it's easier than grapes because you can use a fork to take out several at a time. Remembering to take out any red or green ones you may have missed when you're picking, because they're not edible, and any little stalks need to be picked out as well. So putting the pan on, add a little bit of water to help the fruit to get the heat from the pan. Pour in the berries, and the idea is to, at this stage, is just to cook the berries up to get the juices to flow. Now I'm using a wooden spoon to actually squash them down. When previously I've done this, I've been in the house and I've had a wooden rolling pin, and I found that's the best thing. The end of a wooden rolling pin really does smash them down quite easily. After simmering for about 5 minutes, that's long enough, then take the pulp and then strain it out, and using a muslin square, and it's just pegged over a little Pyrex bowl. Seems to work quite well. I'll let it strain a little while and then take my securing pegs off and pull up the 4 corners. Now what I did with mine was I tied a small piece of string around the top, and then I'd propped up a piece of wood across the top of my desk so I could hang it and support it there. Now most people suggest you leave it overnight to drain down, and I was in a bit of a hurry. Obviously on a boat I haven't got the resources to leave things lying around, so I wanted to get the job done quickly and decided to squeeze it out by hand. But it doesn't cool down very fast, I found out. When I came to squeeze it out, it was incredibly hot. I don't really recommend this, certainly not without rubber gloves on. I just about managed to do it. But the other thing is, people say if you squeeze it out you might get a cloudier jelly, but really, to be honest, elderberry jelly is so dark, and it is jelly by the way, not jam. It's only called jam if you leave the fruit pulp in. But with elderberries, I don't think you'd ever do that. And let's face it, blackberry seeds can be a bit of a nuisance, and these are much bigger, so they're definitely not very palatable. Now I decided to pour mine into a little bottle, and the idea for that was to put my fruit juices into the freezer because I didn't have time to do the jam making on the same day. Now when I came to making the jam, the sugar I used was ordinary sugar. I didn't buy jam making sugar. The quantity I used was approximately 75 grams per 100 millilitres of liquid I'd made. Lemon, I only used half a lemon. Really could have got away with 1/4 of a lemon for the amount I'd actually got. I'd only got about 450 millilitres of elderberry juice, so I only used about 320 grams of sugar. Now the idea is just to warm it enough so that the sugar has begun to dissolve. The pectin I used in packets. The reason for that is that if you buy jam making sugar, it's a lot more expensive than ordinary sugar, and it is actually also a lot more expensive than buying the pectin separately and adding the pectin as and when you need it. Now 1 sachet of pectin, and you get 3 in that box, is enough to do 1 kilogram of sugar. I was using just over half a kilogram of sugar because I was going to make my blackberries jam at the same time, and the total meant that I needed to first divide it in half, and then I needed to divide it in slightly uneven halves after that. into quarters in fact. And slightly more for the elderberry and slightly less for the blackberry, because I had less blackberries than elderberries. I think if I wasn't filming I would have collected more fruit, but this is really, the purpose of this was to actually make the film. So I'm putting the blackberry pectin to one side for the blackberry video. And this one will be for the elderberries. So once the sugar has dissolved, I just checked that I hadn't got the mixture too hot, because I didn't want the pectin to suddenly set early. There wasn't really much chance of that, but I just wanted to make absolutely sure. And now I added the lemon. Unfortunately, when squeezing it, I hadn't actually previously got all the pips out that I expected to have, and one dropped in, so I had to fish that out. Add in the pectin. This takes quite a bit of stirring in, so I remove the thermometer. It doesn't dissolve particularly easily, but if you stir it long enough it will do. It may seem a little bit lumpy, but as it gets hotter, the mixture gets hotter, it will dissolve before it actually gets to the setting point. It does take quite a bit of time, but eventually you'll find that it gets to boiling point, and you'll notice that the mixture starts to foam up, and what I tend to do at that point is move it on and off the heat. I try and adjust the heat down, but at some point you'll find that the just right setting, you will be having it boiling up slowly, so you do have to move it off occasionally. I did several tests with the mixture as time went by to see whether it was set enough. I noticed that the colour of the mixture actually did darken as the cooking progressed, and also that Hugh Fearnley-Whittington, the cook, TV chef, suggests that when you're making jellies and jams that you cook it up to about 106 degrees centigrade. And sure enough, I found that once it reached that point, it did seem to get the consistency of jam or jelly. So once I'd hit that 106 degrees, I decided that was enough cooking time. The idea of the glass lid was to have something cold that had been in the fridge, and it just increases the speed of set for the jam, which you've taken it off the boil. Now we're ready to ladle it out. This is actually, I think, the best bit, the actual jarring process. Now I prepared quite a few jars, and amazingly I ended up with 2 jars of elderberry, and my blackberry batch produced 1 jar, although the blackberry batch is in a larger jar. I think it's a 600 gram jar for the blackberry, whereas these are smaller. The little funnel and the muslin, for that matter, I bought those at Wilko. You can buy them at other stores that deal with cookery utensils. But the funnel makes it very easy just to fill the jar. You don't really want to get jam around the neck of the jar when you're filling it, or down the sides. Now, the mixture is very hot. It's probably about 100 degrees C by the time it's in the jar, so you can't really hold it. I got the oven mitts out, only to realise that I couldn't actually grip it in an oven mitt. So I went back to using my hands. No, I think I'll try that oven mitt, it really is hot. Right, no, well, yes, the oven mitt doesn't work, does it, Mark? No. Right, that's better. So, yes, a towel or anything else that's flexible to go round the jar will help you tighten it. Now, these are some homemade labels I made using some editing, graphics editing software called GIMP. I'm not too sure about the design. It's not very dynamic. It doesn't really show up very well. And I'm not sure whether it should be Elderberry Narrowboat jam or Narrowboat Elderberry jam. Anyway, I did have an idea for sticking them on, and that was to use a bit of carpet tape, double-sided tape, just on either end of the label, so I could easily apply it. And that worked quite well, so I was quite pleased with that.